In a remote village surrounded by towering mountains and dense forests, fear lingered over an ancient legend, a tale of Dracula, the lord of vampires, who kidnapped children to turn them into tools of darkness. No one believed such stories, but Naji was about to discover the horrifying truth. Naji, a man known for his courage, lived peacefully with his only daughter, Noumidia, who was the light of his life. One night, Noumidia vanished suddenly from their home. Her disappearance left behind an open window and a cold wind carrying the scent of danger. The villagers avoided speaking of it, except for whispered words. Dracula took her. The pain in Naji's heart was unbearable, but he didn't hesitate. Like a man possessed, he grabbed an old sword he found among his father's belongings, a sword whose story was unknown to him. The blade became his guiding light as he ventured toward the cursed castle, determined to confront his worst nightmare. Deep in the dark forest, he reached the castle that looked like it had emerged straight from legend. Its doors were sealed shut, yet they opened on their own as he approached, as if the castle had been waiting for him. Walking through the silent halls and eerie corridors, Naji could hear faint sounds, whispers that seemed to come from restless spirits. When he finally entered a pitch-black chamber, he came face to face with Dracula for the first time. Standing tall, with glowing red eyes like blood and skin pale as death, Dracula smirked devilishly. "Welcome, son of the vampire hunter. I knew you would come." Naji froze in place. "What do you mean?" Dracula replied. "Your father thought that by hiding you he could keep you from me. He erased your memories, but he could not erase the bloodline you carry, a legacy of greatness. And now, I have returned to remind you of who you are, and what I will make you." Suddenly, Dracula attacked with inhuman speed. Naji fought back fiercely, his movements raw and instinctive, yet something inside him began to awaken. Each blow he received triggered flashes in his mind, visions of fierce battles, his father's face, and a lineage of hunters. As Naji struggled against Dracula, the memories came rushing back. He remembered his father secretly training him as a child, hiding him from the world and wiping his memories to protect him from the vengeance of darkness. But in that desperate moment, Naji began to falter. Dracula overwhelmed him, pressing with unstoppable force. Just when it seemed he could take no more, a familiar cry pierced the air. "Father, save me." It was Noumidia. Her scream awakened something deep inside Naji. He realized that if he failed, Noumidia would become one of Dracula's minions. That thought ignited a power he didn't know he had. Gripping the sword, which began to glow with a brilliant blue light, Naji sprang forward like lightning, channeling the strength of his ancestors. The battle reached its peak. Dracula struck with supernatural speed and razor-sharp claws, but Naji fought back harder, his movements filled with skill and fury, as though centuries of training had been passed to him in a single moment. At last, Naji delivered a fatal blow, striking Dracula in the chest. The Lord of Darkness let out a chilling scream and fell to his knees. But before Naji could finish him off, the castle began to collapse around them, and he heard his daughter's cries along with those of other children. Naji ran to Noumidia and the others, freeing them quickly. Carrying them one by one, he rushed out of the castle, which crumbled into ruin behind them. Outside in the open air, Naji's eyes searched for Dracula's body, but to his shock it was gone. On the ground where Dracula had fallen, Naji found a message written in blood. "You were close to defeating me, but I will return, heir of the hunters. Wait for my revenge." Naji read the message silently, then crushed it in his hand, his grip still firm on the glowing sword. He turned toward the dark forest, his voice calm, but his smile filled with defiance. "I won't wait, Dracula. I will hunt you down. Now that I know who I am, this time, I will be your end." The story wasn't over. Naji returned to the village, but he knew his battle with Dracula was far from finished. Now that he understood his legacy and the power in his blood, he was ready for the next fight, a fight with no mercy, only the fire of revenge.